tried to make it that Mr. Williams and Mr. Rich Homie Quan are enemies because Rich Homie Quan will not sign with a record label that has nothing to do with Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams doesn't sign that record label. That record label is owned by a gentleman named Brian Williams, also goes by Birdman, wildly successful. He started Drake's career. He started Mr. Dwayne Carter, performer known as Lil Wayne's career. He started Nicki Minaj's career, just fabulous, powerful person, well respected in the industry.
Oh my God,
but the state wants it to be that Donovan Thomas interceded and would not let Rich Homie Quan sign to Mr. Brian Birdman Williams, and that is the reason that Jeffrey Williams had a feud and killed Donovan Thomas. Your Honor, what the evidence would really show if we kept going to trial, and I can tell you that Mr. Adams and I never thought we'd be in front of this honorable court. We always thought it would go all the way through trial. Was the state is saying that Rich Homie Quan and Jeffrey Williams don't speak since the fall, and they have a bad relationship the fall of 2014. We would have shown, and we served on the state, December 15, 2014. Jeffrey Williams in a private plane with Mr. Lamar, Rich Homie Quan, and they are high-fiving and laughing with each other. That is on audio video. There's a man who the state hasn't called yet, Mr. Martinez Arnold, also known as Duke. It's on the state's witness list. He's represented by the Honorable Ashley Merchant. He's on that plane as well. He would have identified the item, and he would have testified that Mr. Williams and Mr. Lamar were very close in December 2014. Then on December 29th of 2014, Mr. Williams, Mr. Rich Homie Quan, Mr. Arnold, others were at Brian Williams' home in Miami, Florida. There was a posting by Mr. Lamar, Rich Homie Quan, and a picture of Mr. Arnold and Mr. Lamar, and they said, Mr. Lamar says, "This is my number one man, Duke," or something to that effect. We would have put that into evidence. In addition to that, Your Honor, on December 8th, 2 days before Mr. Thomas, God forbid, was killed, Mr. Williams is with Mr. Thomas, as well as Mr. Sledge and Brian Williams in Brian Williams' tour bus outside of a fabulous entertainer, artist, Mr. Clifford Harris, T.I.'s studio, and at that time, they were very close. But you also have the detective with the gang unit, Detective Underwood. I asked her within the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, did you do any, and she was on the gang unit the entire time, including today. And I asked her, do you have any evidence about Mr. Williams and Mr. Thomas being close friends? And she said, yes. Of course, I knew that. I said, how about in January of 2015, close to the time of Mr. Thomas's death? She said, yes, they were close friends. Mr. Michael Sprinkle, he's a deputy district attorney in the Fulton County DA's office. He has a recording with Mr. Treadwell. You've heard the name O.G. Bentley. And in that, they're going through the evidence. And Mr. Treadwell is important because he has a child, too, actually, with Mr. Thomas's sisters. He's family. And Mr. Sprinkle states this is 2018, this is after the rental car, this is after all of the interviews of Mr. Copeland, this is after the interviews of Mr. Zachary. Mr. Sprinkle's in some of those interviews with Mr. Zachary. Mr. Sprinkle on tape, on recording, states, I do not know why anybody thinks Jeffrey Williams is involved in this killing. He and Donovan Thomas were close friends. It makes no sense to anyone. And Mr. Williams was never arrested, never charged, even in this, as the court just noted, with anything to do with Donovan Thomas's, God forbid, killing. In addition to that, Donovan Thomas has a place that he used to stay with a group of people on Auburn Avenue. Jeffrey Williams performed and did a music shoot there to try to help other people who are suffering in poverty to get out and to be able to be seen and to broadcast their music. Jeffrey Williams does that for everybody because he comes, Your Honor, from the struggle of total poverty, seeing people killed. So his brother died right in front of him, and law enforcement, I'm not blaming anybody, everybody's on edge, but law enforcement would not get any help for him because there are all these people around. It is just what Mr. Williams has gone through is wrong for everyone. It's not just Mr. Williams, it's that whole community, but he's trying to get people out of poverty and out of that community.
He's walking today.
With Mr. Williams, where we have gone to speak with children together, and he tells them, don't be a rapper. Be like Brian, be a lawyer, keep in school. He tells his children, get your education. His family, his whole being, Your Honor, is trying to break the chains of poverty for others, and it has been spun in this courtroom with false statements and allegations against Mr. Williams at every turn. In addition to that, Your Honor, the state talks about the fact that Mr. Williams takes people to Miami. You would have heard evidence if we went forward. I put all these people on my witness list. Not one person on my witness list has been interviewed by the law enforcement or the prosecution. They have investigated this case for 15 years. They haven't interviewed all these people. The Sprinter van that you heard about, that was already booked days before. Going to Miami, Florida, Mr. Williams and Mr. Brian Birdman Williams, they did a video shoot for a music video. If anybody would have gone further with the expert for the state, they would have seen that Mr. Williams' cell phone does not contact any of the co-defendants that are named here in Miami, and Mr. Williams stays at a separate location than any of those persons.
Come on now,
always take people who can't afford it on airplanes, on buses, on tours, to his concerts. He let everyone go because, Your Honor, they never left that area. He wanted to show people you have an opportunity, the world is big. Mr. Williams gave jobs to everybody who'd want to work. He'd give them jobs and security, and I'm not insulting them. They really weren't their jobs, but they were being mentored, but they were given titles and tried to give them respect and opportunity, but if they did not wish to work, Mr. Williams would not allow them to work with them. This has all been turned on its head by the state. The fact
Jesus, y'all. Come on now.
The state has put in Mr. Williams' lyrics are offensive. Mr. Williams has tens of thousands of recordings. On our witness list, we are bringing in all of his people, his recording artists, his engineers, his managers, his record label, and an expert, the Honorable Dr. Eric Nielsen, to talk about how Mr. Williams creates his music. His music is then changed around and merged. Mr. Williams, some of the lyrics you just heard are not even uttered by Mr. Williams. The state has no idea when these lyrics were made. Some of them were made before the shooting of Donovan Thomas that the state is saying this applies to Donovan Thomas killing with the Tahoe.
Come on now, commercial. Y'all, I'm going to speak to y'all in a minute, but y'all, we about to watch this live. And then I got to go trick-or-treat with these kids. They taking a long time for this thing. Y'all, let them go. Break the chains now. Break the chains. Thug is a good dude, y'all. Give him time served and send him out of there. Come on.
To try to convict a man who should not be convicted. The statement
he sure is hard, baby.
I never killed nobody, but I got something to do with that body. If the state just bothered to talk with anybody, that is a Nicki Minaj song with Jeffrey Williams. It is written by Nicki Minaj. That is on the text messages I gave, not the text messages, the Instagram or Twitter rather, that I gave to the state. That is out well before this, but the state doesn't care. This was out in 2015 or 16 or 17 or 18, I can't remember, I think 18, where Mr. Williams was asked who wrote anybody, and his response is anybody was written by Nicki Minaj, and it was. But it was really written and sung, it's a takeoff of a song by Tupac. There's a song that it parallels, which is an inspiration. But here we are with the state. Also, I never killed nobody, but I got something to do with the body. The next line comes up is, it's a truancy body. The state can't explain that, so they just conveniently leave it out. Your Honor, There were wiretaps on this case. Mr. Williams, it was going to come out, there was an application to wiretap his phone. The state never presented to a judge. That speaks volumes. The leader of the YSL criminal street gang, who's been involved from 2012 until his arrest, and even according to the state, while we sit here, they never even tried to wiretap his phone. It might have been because they don't really know what his phone number is. So all these communications you're being told about with Mr. Huey, I'm not so sure the state could have gotten any to say that's Mr. Williams' phone. This is how the trial has gone for us. But we sit here for almost 2 years since we did our jury selection initiation on January 4th, 2023. Mr. Williams has been sitting in a jail since May 9th, 2022. This is 2.5 years waiting for the conclusion of the state's case and a verdict from the jury, and that's why he is tendering this plea. I'm telling the court this, and the court knows when you came out the first time. It's very hard for Mr. Williams. I'm not supportive of what we're doing right now. I'm not against it. But I told Mr. Williams, you okay with me saying yes? I told Mr. Williams that I think we're winning the trial and we should go to verdict. But he told me I can't wait another 3 months if there is any possibility I could go home because I have children that are hurting. I have things to do, and he has some medical issues that he would like to tend to. He eats out of a bag, Your Honor. He eats processed food only. He gained 75 pounds during trial. He's lost it since. But it is hard. You know, for me, it's only 3 more months. It's enjoyable, actually. I enjoy coming. It's not that enjoyable for Mr. Williams. He told me he wakes up. I said, yes. He wakes up every day, and it's another day in HE blank blank. Your Honor, the state is talking about...
Oh, okay, bro.
In this case, they put in social media. This honorable court was not here, but the state put in that Mr. Williams, in the indictment, Mr. Williams put out a call for murder. He put $24 million, murder for hire, on a person's head. That is a lot of money, and that is awful. If they would have read the chat, the Instagram chat, Mr. Williams, right above it, there's a picture of a very well-known, very accomplished musical artist who actually had surgically implanted in his forehead a pink diamond worth $24 million that day. That's what Mr. Williams would talk about. That's the type of evidence that is coming from the state of Georgia in this case. It is wrong. This is all wrong. And I know we're pleading guilty, and I know we're pleading nolo, and I know we're asking the court for a certain sentence, and we'll get to it with the court's permission. But this is the type of evidence that there is. But it is holding this man hostage. And that's not really what we're supposed to do, district attorney time, in the state of Georgia or anywhere. The state then, because I opened on that, then they never bothered to put in all of the chats. Why did it take me to read the chats? In addition to that, going back to Donovan Thomas, talk about Mr. Williams involved, the state did a geofence. A geofence tracks his devices. It doesn't have to be a phone. It could be an iPad. It could be any type of electronic device that targets and is used. You don't have to be on the phone. It's the contact. If he has an app open, it'll capture it. And the state targeted the McDonald's, where they keep saying that Mr. Williams met with people there. They targeted the barbershop where the killing occurred. And they targeted a third location, no, 2 locations. And it comes out, Mr. Williams' devices are not there. It's exculpatory. I don't get that information. I got that because I interviewed Lieutenant Crabtree, and the results can't be found, according to prosecution. I did a motion for that. They just can't find it. That is great evidence for Mr. Williams. It would have also shown clearly that when he does go down from his house after getting this call that I'll talk about from Demise McMullen, he's not with these other people. And the expert for the state, the FBI agent who does the telephone analysis, Mr. Williams' phone does not ping off the same tower as a Demise McMullen or a Mr. Copeland or a Mr. Garlington or whomever. The state of Georgia has misrepresented for 2 years in front of this jury. They have hidden evidence. They have violated Brady. They have falsely accused Mr. Williams.
Let him go.
Your Honor, saying that Mr. Williams gets that call 7 minutes after, the state said 6, it was 7 minutes after the killing of Donovan Thomas from Demise McMullen. Mr. Williams was already out of his home. Mr. Demise McMullen's is calling Mr. Williams. He's not even there. He's going down to meet with Mr. Kelvin Treadwell, also known as O.G. Bentley. O.G. Bentley was supposed to go to Miami, Florida. They were talking about this deal. And Mr. Williams, that day, he was given another contract. Mr. Williams, by this time, he went from zero money. He is a multi-millionaire at the time. He doesn't need the Cleveland Avenue drug deals for $15. He doesn't need the shootings. He wasn't even living in Atlanta since 2018, 19, 20, 21. He came back the very end of 21, 6 months, and he got arrested in May of 2022. In his house, Your Honor, we have everyone on the witness list. There are 12 people living at that house. Mr. Williams opens up any of a car that he has. He'll rent cars for people. Any home he has, he will allow people to live in hotels because people that he knows, unfortunately, are homeless. And he gives them all places to stay, cars to drive around. He is not involved in criminal activity. Mr. Williams just got back in our country. His passport shows it. Right before he was arrested on May 9th of 2022, there were other people in that house.
Come on, y'all. Let's do it now. Come on.
Guns. There are people whose the guns are in their names. They were going to come in court and claim the guns. Everybody else was doing as well, but Mr. Williams has entered a guilty plea. I'm not going back on that, but I just want you to know that this case is just wrong to do to somebody with no bond and to hold him hostage. He wants to, you may not do it, he's aware of that. He's aware of that. But the state offered him 15 years on probation. But they keep piling on these conditions. He just said, he made up his mind. He said, I'm just going to go with it. I got to get home. Judge may not let me home, but I'm not doing these conditions and admit that I'm the leader and I'm involved in the killing and my music just promoted everybody to do it. He's not going to do that. So he did not do that, and that's how we wound up here.
Oh, God.
The state, the night of the killing, people came to Mr. Williams' home. The state tells the court, he said, lay low. What they don't tell you is right after that, he gave money to Mr. Sledge, who said, I thought they're going to kill me. They think I did it. And Mr. Williams said, if you had anything to do with it, I want to be with you. And Mr. Sledge said, I just need a hotel room with my children and my bride or my significant other to get to. And Mr. Williams said, be safe, lay low. That's the lay low. In addition to that, Mr. Williams told Mr. Copeland's with the police. Hours after the killing of Mr. Donovan Thomas, Mr. Copeland goes to the police department. Mr. Williams is the person who told him to go. Mr. Copeland said, what do? They're shooting at my house, at my family's house, at my significant other's mother's house. And Mr. Williams said, if you had anything to do with the murder, get out of here. Mr. Copeland denied it. Mr. Williams said, then go tell the police. Mr. Copeland said, you want me to go to the police?
Yes,
and Mr. Williams said, if you had nothing to do with it, they think you did it. Go to the police. In addition to that, Mr. Copeland said, well, I'm going to retaliate. Mr. Williams told him, don't do that. Let 12 handle. That's on recordings. That is on recordings on January 11th of 2015 with Detective Thorpe.
Yo, free that man, Thug, man.
As far as Dwayne Carter, a performer known as Lil Wayne, Mr. Williams had no conflict with him. They are friends. We were presenting evidence that right before this, This shooting of the tour bus is April 26th of 2015. Mr. Williams is performing in New Orleans area. And that's the area where it's Holly Grove, where Mr. Carter or Lil Wayne, the former known as Lil Wayne, comes from.
Okay, one second. I'll be down there.
In order to drum up popularity and interest, people get on the internet and they start what's called rap battles.
Oh my God. My grandkids is dressed for Halloween and the lawyer is just talking. Let it go.
And for your career, Mr. Dwayne Carter is aware of that. Mr. Dwayne Carter's interviewed. The state's aware of this. He has interviews after this. Are you mad? What's the real deal with Jeffrey Williams? He states, no. He's great with me. He brought popularity to me. He loves me. He idolizes me, and I love working with him. They did an album together. In 2014, they're in the studio together, making music together. It is all made up that Mr. Williams is involved. Mr. Williams gives a statement. The state refuses to put it in and then stop me, the previous judge, from cross-examining the detective. His name is Racy. He met with Mr. Williams in the DeKalb County Jail on the 15th day of July 2015. Mr. Williams is arrested that day. And there's a long interview. And Mr. Williams waives his right to counsel. He tells them, I'm his lawyer. They say, you don't want to speak to us, you don't have to. He said, well, I'll speak with you. And they asked Mr. Williams these questions. What about Lil Wayne's shooting? He said, it was outrageous. I love him. That's my idol. I love Lil Wayne. How about this battle? He says it's promotion. They asked him about his rap lyrics. It's the only person that the state ever did anything about rap lyrics with. And they asked Mr. Williams, what about the rap lyrics? And he tells them, it's hyperbole. He didn't use that word. He used the word, it's made up. It's rhyming. It's made up. Not like the state is saying that I rap lyrics for real. That's not even Mr. Williams' utterance. Your Honor, the point I'm trying to make to you is what the state of Georgia has presented to this jury in this courtroom the past year has been full of untruths. And they know it. The state says that Mr. Williams had a conflict because he named an album with Dwayne Carter, and Dwayne Carter didn't like that. Dwayne Carter's interview, he said, that was one of the nicest things anyone could have done to me. It shows how much he really appreciates me. It shows respect and honor, and I appreciate what he did. The state knows this. With regards to...
Come on, y'all. He may come home today, y'all. I got all these 8 grandkids ready for trick-or-treat.
Jimmy Winfrey. What the state did is they put in a recording. It's not Mr. Williams. It's a jail recording, Mr. Winfrey and an unknown person. And an unknown person says, when you get out, you're going to get a Porsche and $250,000. Mr. Williams is not privy to that. The state looked at all of Mr. Williams' bank records, everything. They undressed him financially. There's zero evidence Mr. Williams did anything for Mr. Winfrey. The state tells you that Mr. Winfrey asked for money for a lawyer.
That's what they got thug in front of the damn judge right now.
Recorded. It was with Mr. Williams' manager. And Jimmy Winfrey said, I need to show that I was gainfully employed for the court. Can you get me something from YSL? And the manager said, yeah, if we have it.
Okay, I'm coming.
And if it's true, yes, you can have it. That is it. There's no evidence that Mr. Williams paid for anybody's lawyer, Mr. Winfrey or otherwise.
Damn, they're getting on my nerves.
In addition to that, Your Honor, the social media postings with Mr. Rashawn Bennett, also known as YFN Lucy. So Mr. Williams, the state tells Mr. Bennett on social media, I would have killed you if I didn't like the way you take care of your mother and children. That is the post. What they don't tell you is Mr. Bennett, who is also, to his credit, trying to drum up his career. Mr. Bennett is picking on Mr. Williams, who's a much higher profile artist than Mr. Bennett at that time. And Mr. Bennett is saying that he slept with Mr. Williams' fiance while Mr. Williams and she are a significant couple, that Mr. Williams' music is awful. Nobody should listen to his music ever. Mr. Williams responds by saying, we can do an album together if you want. Stop this. The man continues of how he's sleeping with Mr. Williams' significant other, and then Mr. Williams responds by saying, I would have killed you except for what you do. That is the context that they don't tell you about. And Mr. Williams did nothing to Mr. Bennett. In fact, the evidence would have shown, if we had time or we would have gone forward, that Mr. Bennett and Mr. Williams on the red carpet receiving awards in California, sitting right next to each other and taking photographs. This is not the Jeffrey Williams. Jeffrey Williams is a known person who is all over the place. If he did something, somebody wanted him, they can find him. This is not he is not hanging out on Cleveland Avenue.
Yes.
What the state is saying are not true. The situation with Mr. Bennett, so he's in the Fulton County Jail, and he's housed, and there are crazy, sick, violent people, and they're on the phone, and Mr. Myrick, M-Y-R-I-C,
I've been out all day.
is calling other people, supposed co-conspirators. How much will Jeffrey Williams give? He doesn't say that, but that's the theme of it, as well as Christian Eppinger. What the state doesn't tell you is that when Mr. Sumlin is asked, hey, find out how much Thug will pay me to kill Mr. YFN Lucci, Mr. Sumlin says, I don't know his number. I can't get in touch with him. He doesn't talk to me. And that's because, Your Honor, since 2015, and he means no insult,
I can't
but
miss
Jeffrey
it. Come
Williams
on,
has
y'all.
had zero contact with Shannon Stillwell until this case, Kenneth Copeland, Demiki Garlington, Justin Cobb,
Tell them I love you too. Tell them I'm coming.
Mr. Sledge, Mr. Murphy,
Gina tripping.
all these people, this is a lie. This is a 100% lie, and that's why we tendered a no-low plea to being a leader of a criminal street gang. Mr. Williams is not a leader. In fact, if we're going to go forward, on Mr. Huey's phone, there are conversations with Mr. Copeland. And they both say how Jeffrey Williams is a zero, and F him. And they don't talk to him, and Jeffrey Williams never does anything for them. Mr. Huey, Mr. Williams met later. He met him closer in the time of 2020. Mr. Huey's father went through a horrible episode that Mr. Williams knew, and that's how Mr. Williams knew his son, who's Mr. Huey. And Mr. Huey's on hard times, and Mr. Huey's making mistakes. And Mr. Huey, supposedly, Mr. Williams believes, armed robbed a man named Chandler Durham, D-U-R-H-A-M. Mr. Durham is Mr. Williams, and he's a fabulous record engineer. And Mr. Williams states, give him back, tell him to give back the property or he's going to die. The state puts that as an overt act. No one dies. The property doesn't get returned. Mr. Huey ignores Mr. Williams. The state told you today that Jeffrey Williams sent Mr. Huey a posting that Mr. YFN Lucci is going to be performing on January 19, 2020. That's not true. Mr. Huey sent that to whoever phone that was. And all it says is slat and slatty. Well, I went out to the places that Mr. Bennett was supposed to perform. There's no shooting. There was no fight. There was nothing to report. There's nothing here. In addition, the state said the same thing on September 2nd, 2022 on Mr. Huey's phone. I'm not conceding that was Jeffrey Williams even having a conversation with him, but even if it was, it doesn't show anything. It says, slatties, lay low. Lay low means don't do anything. Get out of the way. That is what it is. That is Mr. Williams' role. Mr. Williams, there is evidence in the record, and there would have been more. He takes people on tour with him.
Man, free that man today.
But when they do
Brandy,
crime,
let him know.
or do
Coco,
things to people,
Gina. Bro.
For instance, there was a prostitute, and several people gave that prostitute money, $500. And the prostitute, at the end of the $500, getting $500 from several people, had sex with a person, and then she was armed robbed. So all the money came back. Mr. Williams wasn't involved in that, but he heard about it. He made those people find the prostitute and repaid her every dime. People stole from stores that Mr. Williams found about.
Yeah, I'm a miss.
He went to the stores and he repaid all that. He didn't steal anything. He doesn't need to steal anything. Your Honor, Mr. Williams stands with Elton John. Elton John called Mr. Williams the next coming of John Lennon. Mr. Williams is unbelievable talent. He's not just a rap artist. In fact, when he's interviewed in 2017, he gives a statement and he says, I had to learn rap. He grew up in a house learning other forms of music. He likes all music. But rap hit in his community. And his community raised him.
Yeah.
They supported him. They came out and they made him get into establishments. And once the establishment saw all the people come out, he got more establishments. And then he went out of that little area in Atlanta to other parts of Georgia and then to all the neighboring states and throughout our country. And he has performed on every continent but one. He has performed in front of being the headliner, 300,000 people at one time.
Yes.
He has a real life and career. He is not the leader. And he is not worried about buying jewelry that is stolen. Mr. Williams is actually innocent. I'm not trying to corrupt our plea. That's his plea. And he's entitled to it and he wants it. And he embraces it. But to me,
I don't open
this is a wrongful prosecution.
So
this is outrageous.
Yeah, but I'm not opening. You know, I don't open my Facebook.
You're pleading guilty, or your client is pleading guilty to counts 57 through 62.
Okay, bye.
It's all true.
Do you
Yes, there's
concede there's a factual basis for those counts?
Yes,
oh, God, here we go, y'all.
Okay.
Oh, God.
To interrupt.
Oh, God, y'all, they get ready to do it. Come on, so I can take these kids. I got 8 kids down the hall, y'all. Come on now, let's go. These kids want some candy. Shoot. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Stationary.
Oh, shit, he's still talking.
But they want to control. They have this theory of music. And they want to stop Mr. Williams from making music, from entertaining, just stop his life. That's just not right.
Yes, Rob.
And it's wrong of the district attorney in Fulton County to do that. If they offer probation, then he's not a 45 to serve 25 years in custody type of person, and he's certainly not the person that the state has stated in front of the court. What we're asking, Your Honor, on count 1, which is the RICO count, to accept the nolo contendere plea. Please sentence Mr. Williams to 20 years to serve 5 years in prison commuted to time served. Mr. Williams has served, as I said, 22.5 years. On count 56, Your Honor, that's the leadership of a gang.
Oh, God.
Nolo plea, 20 years to serve 5 years, commuted to time served, consecutive to all other counts. On count 57, which is a gang count, Your Honor, not a leader, guilty plea, 20 years to serve 5 years, commuted to time served, concurrent with count 1. With regard to count 58,
get in there, we ain't going.
Possession of, I believe it is,
oh, God.
marijuana with intent to distribute. 10-year sentence on probation, concurrent with count 1. On count 59, which is violation of Georgia Controlled Substance Act, possession of codeine with intent to distribute, 5 years on probation, concurrent with count 1. On count 59, Your Honor, which is
man, free that man.
Violation of Georgia Controlled Substance Act, possession of cocaine, 3 years on probation, concurrent with count 1. Count 61, 5 years of probation. It's a firearm count, consecutive to the other counts, consecutive to before count 56.
Come on, I got to go.
And then count 62, 10 years to serve commuted time served. That should be a total sentence, Your Honor, that we are respectfully requesting the court to consider. I believe it's 45 years to serve 5 years in prison, commuted time served, 40 years on probation.
Damn.
Credit for the time already served and community time served. As I said, after 3 years of probation, the probation becomes non-reporting, and after successful completion of 10 years on probation, the balance of the sentence be terminated. Mr. Williams asked the court for house arrest for 3 years as part of his sentence, but house arrest specifically defined that Mr. Williams will be in his home or at any lawful employment, touring, studio, performance, business meetings, and the like. Wear an ankle monitor for the first year.
Damn.
And pay the costs of same. And the company must be approved by probation department. And the ankle monitor to be affixed within 10 days of hopeful release from custody. Mr. Williams cannot possess a firearm, but he can be around licensed security who are armed or other persons who are lawfully carrying a firearm with a license. And that would be knowingly for Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams can transfer probation outside the state of Georgia. He has residences in the state of California. He has studios in the state of California. Mr. Williams
no, he need to quit smoking
be
everything.
allowed to travel throughout our country and the world for lawful work-related industries. Mr. Williams wants to perform. He's going to do this anyway, Your Honor, but we made it part of the sentence. At least one concert each year at a venue, if they'll have him holding 10,000 people, if that is workable for the venue and Mr. Williams' management, and he is going to donate all of the profits that he makes to a 501c3 charity.
What?
Mr. Williams wants to pledge $100,000 for the next 3 years to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office if they will hold an illegal firearm buyback to buy back firearms that are not supposed to be on our streets. Mr. Williams does not wish to go near the Cleveland Avenue area, not to insult that area at all, but it is just not a good idea.
Come on, let's go. Come on.
And he can drive on the highway, but otherwise not come within 1 mile of the area that we call Cleveland Avenue, and we can give the exact dimensions of that area.
Lord, we got to go trick-or-treating,
Mr.
y'all.
Williams must perform 100 hours of community service per year for the next 3 years as designated by probation department. Mr. Williams can associate, and this was agreed to previously, with people who are convicted felon or alleged gang members solely for lawful purpose of making music.
I see Ms. Love shaking her head, and I think it's fair to establish that until the entirety of the negotiations were agreed to, it was all up in the air.
Sure.
That may have been something y'all had already hammered out, but it's not anything they're bound to.
Absolutely.
Fair. Okay.
I agree with that. Mr. Williams can have no contact with any of the supposed victims, and there was an Exhibit A
Miss Love shaking her damn big ass head.
Proposed plea agreement, negotiated plea agreement that was sent to you, so we adopt that Exhibit A, but we can give it to the court if you need those names. And Mr. Williams had no contact with any of the co-defendants in this indictment, with the exception of Mr. Quantavious Greer, that is his biological brother.
Damn.
As well as Mr. Sergio Kitchens. He's a phenomenal artist. He goes performer known as Gunna, G-U-N-N-A. Mr. Williams and Mr. Kitchens are contractually obligated, and they frequently perform music
Damn, he gonna have to
together.
be
Your
a
Honor,
preacher.
any other conditions that this honorable court deems appropriate? I want to thank the court for all your time. Always, I want to thank Ms. Percival for everything she's done. I want to thank Mr. Williams for allowing me to stand with him.
It's
I
about to
really
be over.
never thought we would be here, but this is his decision. I want to thank the Honorable Keith Adams, who may want to speak, Your Honor, but I can never
Please don't let
imagine a
nobody
better
else.
lawyer than Keith Adams.
Mr. Adams, do you want to add anything to the record?
Please no, Mr. Adams.
Your Honor, I don't know that there's really much to add. Mr. Steele has represented to the court, I think fully and thoroughly, the breadth of our knowledge of the case, Mr. Williams' background. I think the court has not just heard it from Mr. Steele, but has had the opportunity to sit here and hear some of the evidence and kind of get a feel. You've had a chance also to observe Mr. Williams and then get a feel for
damn kids
him,
ready,
his
y'all.
background and so forth. You know, the only thing I can say about Mr. Williams that hasn't been said is that he comes from an area. You might
Oh
have
my
heard
God, we
during the
know.
course of the
Let's
trial,
go.
that there was
Y'all
an
10
album,
after, I'm out of here.
a concert tour. We came from nothing. And that is true. Mr. Williams came from, you know, I hate to use the word abject poverty, but that really is the case. Came from an area where there was a significant amount of crime.
Keep watching, I'm getting ready.
Where, as you've heard, he's had tragedy in his life and has observed tragedy in his life. And he has gone through a good bit. He has been involved in a lot, but he has raised himself up. He has done the best he could and has done phenomenally well, and is, I think, an inspiration to a lot of people
Let him out.
from that community who look to him and see the success that he has gained and have been fully supportive of him. But he finds himself here. He's in front of you. He is tendering this plea because he accepts responsibility. You've heard everything Mrs. Steele has had to say. I can only ask that you follow what we have put before you. You also have, I believe, the paperwork that was given to you by the state, which kind of gives you some idea of what they were looking for as well in terms of conditions on Mr. Williams if we were to ever reach some sort of agreement. And we ask that if you feel that there's anything within the state's proposal that might be appropriate in terms of sentence for Mr. Williams, that the court please feel free to do that. There's nothing that he puts himself before the court.
I gotta go trick or
And,
treating,
and I
y'all.
think 2.5 years sitting,
He's
going
nervous,
through
sister.
this
Yes,
process,
he is.
challenging the process, but now
Nice
standing
message,
before
thank
you and
you.
asking
Brandy Coco
that you consider
11.
everything and sentence him appropriately in the way that we've requested. I'd simply ask you, I'd join Mrs. Steele and Mr. Williams in asking you to do the same. And I thank you as well.
Okay,
as Ms.
all right,
Steele
let's
did
go.
for,
Let's see
your
what the
patience
judge is
with
gonna
us and
do.
for, bringing
But we
some,
got to go.
order to the proceedings.
I'm gonna let y'all see my grandkids in a minute.
Was needed. So that's all I have to say. I thank you again, and I ask
Good,
you to
that's
consider
it.
everything that's been put before you.
Hi, Mr. Williams, is there anything that you want to say?
Say something, Thug.
Yes, ma'am.
Woo.
I take full responsibility for, you know, my crimes, for my charges. I want to say sorry to my family, my mom. My mom got 11 kids. I can say all their names, you know. My managers, my kids that's not here. Really, everybody that got something to do with this situation, I want to say sorry for just like, you know, having so much time investing into this, you know. And I am a smart guy. I am a good guy, and I really got a good heart, you know. I find myself in a lot of stuff because I was just
He talking too damn much. He don't want to
not
say
so
none of that.
cool, you know. And I understand that you can't be that way when you reach a certain height because
That's
it
a
could
fact.
end bad, and it don't really have to have nothing to do with you, but it could end bad, and it could, you know, fall on you. And I know the choice is yours, it's up to you, and I hope that you.
Come on now. Y'all see his co-defendant, how he looking at Thug? He like, nigga, you lying. Excuse me, y'all. Y'all know I wasn't gonna say that word. Hurry up. I gotta go. Trick or treating.
Bans on IVF
Damn.
abortion bans to protect your rights.
Oh my God, Thug. He shouldn't even talk. He should just be quiet.
Might not have all the answers. We do know a thing or two
Hurry
about
up.
appliances. We know that when
I know y'all said she hard of
I
her.
didn't take full advantage of it. I'm sorry. through these last 2.5 years of my life, you are really, truly, honestly, the best thing that has happened to me because you made everything fair for me and everybody involved.
He's so nervous, poor baby.
You know? I'm sorry to the sheriff, everybody for just having to put extra time in. I know y'all got paid more money, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, he should have shut the hell up. So.
And I just hope that you find it in your heart to allow me to go home and be with my family and just do better as a person. I know what I bring to the table. I know
Shut up.
What I am.
Free him anyway.
I know the heights I've reached. I know the impact I got on people, period, in the community. All people. I learned that late, like these past 2 or 3 years of my life. I kind of learned that late, and maybe it was because I was, probably on drugs or anything.
Oh my God! My God! Thug, you going down? You keep talking.
But I am a good guy, I don't mind doing stuff like
your lawyer did good. You didn't need him. You talk.
Shows, and I always did that. I did free shows and gave it to single parents, millions of dollars. I made $1.8 million on a free show.
Trying make me sick.
Single parent charity, and I did like 2 or 3 shows that made like
that baby trying to talk his way up out of that door.
And I gave it to the breast cancer organization. I do things. I put millions of dollars back into my community for real. I really did. I did more than anybody ever did from my side, But I understand, rap lyrics. I understand.
Oh my God,
twisted. I understand.
Sister, call him and tell him to hush.
Of people, I understand all that, and I promise you, I'm 100% changing that. It's just
somebody please call the courthouse.
I'm older. I'm grown now, and it's just like.
We got to go, Thug.
More things to rap about. Like I've experienced a lot of good things. I experienced more bad things, but I experienced a lot of good things too. And
oh God.
Anyway, I can go forever.
Well, I appreciate it, and
okay, y'all, here we go.
I appreciate that you do realize how much of an impact you have on people. I mean, it's past your neighborhood. It's worldwide, especially young people, and having come up from where you came up from and living in and around that, that gangs are damaging to our community.
Oh God.
And it may be that a whole lot of rap music and the rap industry is, I mean, honestly, it sounds like a modern day version of kind of WWE wrestling that used to be on television, where people would just get up and posture and act like they hated each other. And it may be that that's a lot of what is going on in the music industry with rap. But whether it is fake or not, it has tremendous impact on kids and young people who think, this is cool, this is what I want to do. Look at him, he's a millionaire. I can do that by being, a gangster in the streets.
Oh my God.
And that's not true. What you're likely to have happen to you if you're a gangster in the streets is you get shot, you get killed, or you get thrown in prison. And those are,
okay,
by
going
far
down in
the
there.
most likely
Yeah, I'll be right back.
And, you've been in here watching the trial, and you've seen the pictures of Mr. Ryan posing with a gun as big as he is at 15 years old and going out and shooting and killing another teenager. And that's what gangs do, and that's unfortunately a lot of what rap music does. And if you are a modern day John Lennon, he might have rapped too in this day and age. I don't know, but I know you're talented, and even if you choose to continue to rap, you need to try to use your influence to let kids know that that is not the way to go, and that there are ways out of poverty besides hooking up with the powerful guy at the end of the street selling drugs.
Jesus help me.
And, you know, I know that happens for protection sometimes, but a much better way would be getting an education
Okay.
and setting, you know, hanging around with people who set a good example. And you be one of those people that sets a good example.
That's right. Now let him go.
I mean, all right, so that's my high horse on that. I could also go on. But I want you to try to be more of the solution and less of the problem. All right?
Second chance, baby.
All right, so it is not lost on the court that the state, had they been able to come to agreement on certain special conditions, was willing to entirely dismiss the RICO count, was willing to entirely dismiss one of the gang counts, and was willing to entirely dismiss this, you know, machine gun count.
Damn.
Was willing to give a sentence that permitted Mr. Williams to walk out of the door today, and therefore does not seem to be particularly worried that Mr. Williams, if on the streets, would be a danger to society. I'm taking that into consideration in crafting my sentence.
Oh God.
And in permitting a no-low plea to the RICO count and one of the two gang counts, I would not be permitting the no-low to the one if you were not pleading guilty to at least one of them. But you are, and y'all admit a factual basis for the counts that you are pleading guilty to. I find there to be a factual basis for those counts.
Oh God.
And for the remaining counts with which you are charged, I am going to impose a sentence, and I've taken a little bit of the suggested special conditions from the defense and a little bit of the special conditions suggested
Please
by the
don't let Ms. Love
prosecution. On count one, the court sentence is 20 years to serve 5 years, commuted to time served, the balance of 15 years to be probated, and a $25,000 fine. On count two, the sentence is 5 years to serve, commuted to time served. That's the minimum sentence that's permitted on that count. It is required to be run consecutively. I'm going to run it consecutive to count one, but I am going to backload. Oh, I'm sorry, that is not commuted. That is 5 years to serve, and it's going to be run consecutively to count one, backloaded, by which I mean after you serve your 15 years of probation, if you have been successful on that probation, and I sincerely hope that you are, then at the end of that 15 years, I will commute the entire rest of any service portion of your sentence to time served. So I'll get to the end of it and give you the total sentence, but
Hurry up.
I'm also going to impose a $15,000 fine with regard to that count.
That's right. Take his
Count
money.
57, 20 years to serve 5, commuted to time served, the balance of 15 years probated, concurrent with count 1. Count 58, 10 years to serve 5, commuted to time served, balance probated, concurrent with count 1. 59, 5 years to serve, commuted to time served, concurrent with count 1.
Come on now.
65 years to serve, commuted to time served, concurrent with count 1.
Come on.
Count 61, 5 years to serve, that is required to be also a consecutive sentence, so that's going to be run consecutively to count 56 and backloaded. Count 62, 10 years to serve, also required to be served consecutively, that's going to be consecutive to count 61, also backloaded. So essentially, the total sentence is 40 years to serve the first 5 years in prison, but commuted to the time that you have already served, followed by 15 years on probation.
Woo!
Followed then by the backloaded 20 years, which can be served in custody and will be served in custody if you are not successful on your probation.
Got it.
If you are successful in completing your 15 years probation,
Welcome home,
that
big
will
homie.
be commuted to time served.
Yes. Come on, let him go.
You are to remain on reporting status for the first half of your probation, active reporting for the first 7.5 years of your probation, and that is pursuant to OCGA 17-10-1, subsection 2, A2A. And Mr. Steele and Mr. Adams, in order to keep him on reporting status, there needs to be good cause shown. We all concede that good cause is shown.
Yes, sir.
All right, I appreciate that.
God of a second chance. We serve him.
What good cause? What do you mean?
Can I have a second, Your Honor?
Sure.
We serve a God of a second chance, baby. I got to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. You got enough time to talk with your attorneys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, now.
All right, statute conditions of your probation. After 48 hours from your
Thank
release,
you for the brandy
you are
girl.
to stay away from the metro Atlanta area, and that's defined by the U.S. Census Bureau.
Okay, we done heard it, y'all.
But you can look that up anytime to figure out what that is. For the first 10 years of your probation, subject to the...
Yeah, I'm gonna let it play a little bit more. We got 11 seconds. I gotta get my grandkids out of here, but they ass is probably pissed. I'm gonna let y'all see them, and we're gonna go. Come on, commercial now, damn.
Fine, the same way that you all were contemplating it when you were negotiating. You can get here up to 24 hours prior to any such event.
Come on.
And you need to leave within 48
Doesn't have
hours
to worry
after any
about
such event.
the feds picking this case
in
up.
addition,
That was smart. That's right.
During each year of your probation, I'm going to require that you come to the metro Atlanta area and make a live anti-gang and anti-gun violence presentation 4 times a year, each year of your probation, at a grade school, a middle
Yes,
school,
that's good.
boys or girls club, anything like that type of group.
Free that man.
If you want to, that presentation can include a benefit concert, and these presentations may count towards your required community service hours, which I'm going to impose.
Trying to help
during
y'all.
each year of your probation, you perform 100 hours of community service.
That's right, baby. He don't care.
You are, and this is required by the fact that there's a gang conviction. You shall not knowingly have contact of any kind or character with any other member or associate of any criminal street gang. Exception to that, if your brother is a member of any street gang, I hope you talk him into getting out of it. Quantavious Greer, and then also Sergio Kitchens, as long as you are contractually obligated to him.
Come on.
That is going to include anybody who is named in this indictment.
There you go, y'all.
Except as absolutely necessary to conduct the lawful business of your musical career, and to any extent that the state is not agreeing to the
Hold on, I got to turn the
exception
TV
for
down.
Mr. Kitchens. In the event that that part is not enforceable because it is only...
I got to pause until I get back. Okay, y'all. Thug got it. He got it. We gone. Y'all stay in here. I'm going to let y'all see my kids. Hold on. Y'all go. We serve a God of a second chance, baby. I don't care what nobody say. We serve a God of a second chance. He made his mistakes, and he is done paid his time, and he killed. I can't hardly walk, y'all. I hurt my foot today on some stuff at my daughter's shop. Let's go. Come on outside. Let's go. I don't want to talk. I just want to go.
My mom said the only thing you just gotta do is this.
Okay, we're going to do it out here. We got to go. Everybody look cute. Put your hat on, Junior. Put it on. We got to go. Let's go. Okay, can y'all see them? Y'all turn around. Everybody look. So we got a whole bunch of people. We got to go pick up 2 more. There they go, y'all. Huh? Just don't give him some yet. We gotta go. Y'all, we still made it. We got the thug. We done went and got thug out of jail. And now it's time for us to go on. Okay? Y'all see? Somebody type and say y'all see these kids. So we can go. Okay, the big kids get in first. We're gonna have to lap up. Okay, TT, you see them. Okay. Put the big kids in the car first. So y'all, we gotta go. I gotta go pick up 2 more. The big kids. That means you're big. All right, get in the car. The far left. It's a beast. Have a good night. I love y'all. I'll see y'all later. Get in the car, bye. Okay, y'all. I love y'all. Sister, you can call me on my other phone. I got my glasses, girl. Somebody pray for me with all these kids. Good night, y'all. Free thug, y'all.